Hey viewers and friends, Andrew back again and welcome to another video. This is a video response to JP, Double Shot J, who did a video recently about 10 of his most underrated horror movies. Thought it was an awesome idea and I definitely wanted to post mine. So this was kind of easy. I thought it might have been a little bit more difficult than it was, but I came up with 10 that I definitely consider to be underrated pretty easily. Before I show them off, I'm wanting to give JP a quick shout out. His channel link will be left in the description box below. Please check him out if you haven't already. Great YouTuber, posts some great videos, posts pretty regularly, and he's one of my favourite reviewers on here, so well worth subbing to. Anyway, I've decided to talk about a bunch of different horror movies in this one, from the 80s right up to modern stuff, and covering all different genres. So yep, no particular order, let's get started. So we're going to start with one of my favourite slashers from the 80s. I definitely wanted to start with a slasher, and that is Welcome to Spring Break. Now I consider this to be the best 80s slasher movie that no one ever really seems to talk about. Definitely underrated. If you're a slasher fan and you've never seen this movie, what are you doing? You need to check it out. It's got a fantastic 80s vibe to it, pretty good cast of characters, and a really unique killer. The killer is a motorbike rider, dressed in leather, has a really awesome souped up motorbike, and very unique in terms of kills. I don't really want to spoil anything, but the kills do involve the motorbike. Just such a fantastic 80s slasher. Welcome to Spring Break. The next one is what I consider to be the most underrated horror movie from the 90s. Now the 90s is kind of a miss for me in terms of horror. I'm not a big 90s horror fan, but this one is definitely one I needed to mention, and that is Brain Scam with Edward Furlong. This is a fantastic movie that no one ever really talks about, and I definitely needed to show it in this video. Edward Furlong's the main character. He's obsessed with computer games. He gets sent this game, and basically it's evil, takes control of him and makes him do nasty things. Excellent movie. Definitely recommend Brain Scam. I definitely wanted to include Australian horror in this one, and this came to mind, The Clinic. Now, I'd never heard of this when I picked it up. The cover art intrigued me when I saw it at my local Big W. Read the synopsis, it sounded pretty good. It was cheap, so I gave it a go, and what a fantastic underrated horror movie. This one is really unique and really original for modern horror, and this one is about a group of women that are held captive in an abandoned warehouse. They've all been pregnant and had their babies removed from them, and had coloured tags put into their stomach. The coloured tags are also attached to the babies, but the women have no idea which baby belongs to who, and they're basically left to their own devices. Do they try and escape? Do they try and figure out which baby belongs to who? Completely up to them. A fantastic film, love it. The Clinic. The next one is a really underrated. Why am I saying underrated? Because this is the whole point of the video. But anyway, it is an underrated modern slasher, and that is Maskmaker. Now, I never really hear too many people talk about it, and in fact, I'd really never heard of this one before. I'd seen it around but never really heard too much until Brad recommended this to me, and I'm so glad he did, because I probably never would have checked this one out, to be honest, and this turned out to be really, really good. The killer is kind of like Leatherface, but it's not a TMC ripoff or a Leatherface ripoff. The killer is awesome. There's some great kills, pretty solid cast. The guy from the original Hills Have Eyes is in this one. This is just really, really good. The next one is Dead Silence. Now, I know a few people are pretty big fans of this movie, and I'm certainly one of them, but I definitely don't think it gets the recognition it deserves. It's sort of fallen under the cracks in terms of the modern horror, but this is fantastic about a ventriloquist dummy. It's really, really creepy, has fantastic atmosphere, so moods. If you've never seen this one before, I know you love atmospheric horror, definitely check it out. This is just a really, really good, well-made modern horror, Dead Silence. Okay, next up is Cube. Now, I know this was kind of popular back when it first came out in the late 90s, and I certainly consider this to probably be the best horror movie from the 90s. But I definitely think that it's forgotten, and I definitely wanted to bring it to people's attention again. If you've never seen this one, I definitely recommend it, especially if you're a fan of like movies like Saw and stuff like that, where sort of puzzles are involved. Cube kind of started it all. Basically, it's about a group of people that are trapped in like a cube-like maze. Some of the rooms are booby-trapped, and they have to figure out a way to work together to try and escape. Really, really good. Love it. The next one is what I consider to probably be the most underrated 80s horror movie, and that is The Gate. This one is about two boys who discover a hole in the backyard, and they end up unleashing a bunch of evil demons. Awesome 80s vibe to it. This one just screams the 80s. Some pretty cool characters in this one. The demon creatures look fantastic and still hold up pretty well, although towards the end it's kind of cheesy, but this is really, really good, and there's some sort of great atmospheric moments throughout as well, so definitely check this one out. If you're a fan of movies like The Goonies or The Monster Squad or stuff like that, this one is definitely for you. The next one, it got a bit of talk here on YouTube sometime last year, I think it was, and that was when I discovered it, and that is Megan is Missing. A few people picked it up and were doing reviews, but it's kind of fallen on the wayside now, and I definitely think it's underrated. Megan is Missing is a really, really realistic and pretty disturbing movie about online predators, and I definitely think it's a pretty important film for a lot of us to be checking out. Stuff like this does happen, and this movie is no exception. It is pretty disturbing. Basically, it's about two teenage girls who get involved with a stranger online. The stranger ends up kidnapping them and does terrible, terrible things. I don't really want to say too much about it because it's hard to talk about without spoiling the entire film, but yeah, definitely wanted to mention Megan is Missing. The next one is Silver Bullet. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering why this is in this video. I definitely consider it to be underrated for two reasons. I think it's definitely the most underrated Stephen King movie adaptation, and I also think it is one of the most underrated werewolf films. I love this movie. I think it is awesome. It's one of my favourite Stephen King adaptations, if not my favourite horror adaptation actually, and it's certainly one of my favourite werewolf films. Awesome 80s movie with Corey Haim. If you've never seen Silver Bullet, it is essential. And last, certainly not least, probably the most underrated movie that I'm going to show for this video, and I kind of wanted to save it till last. I'd be quite surprised if a lot of you have heard of this one before. I'm pretty sure probably a lot of you have never heard of Fingerprints. Now, I'd never heard of this movie before, and I came across it at my local video store. The cover intrigued me, the synopsis sounded pretty good, and I decided to give it a go. I'd never heard of it before, but renting it was worth the risk, and it certainly paid off. Fantastic modern horror. I think it came out in about 2005 or somewhere around that time anyway. Pretty interesting film. It blends in a ghost story with slasher elements and it works really well. This one's about a teenager or a young adult who's just come back from a stint in rehab. She moves in with her family, tries to reconnect with them, but there's a mystery with the town. Several years ago, a group of children got killed and she comes across a ghost of a little girl, and basically the ghost helps her try and figure out the mysteries of the town. Really good, definitely underrated, and it definitely needed to be mentioned in this video. So that's Fingerprints. Okay, so there you go. That is 10 of my favourite underrated horror movies. If there's any movie that I've talked about that you've never seen before, obviously I highly recommend checking them out. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you go and subscribe to JP. Definitely get involved with this. I think it's a pretty cool idea, and I'm definitely keen to hear what you guys consider to be underrated horror movies. So either leave them in the comments section below, or better still, do a video response for JP. And thank you for watching.